We're back now at 8:40. This morning on Today's Health, we're talking about DVT, or deep vein thrombosis. We learned about it here at NBC back in 2003 when our friend and colleague David Bloom died of complications from it while he was covering the early days of the war in Iraq. March is DVT Awareness Month, and David's widow, Melanie Bloom, is now the national patient spokesperson for the Coalition to Prevent DVT. Dr. Gino Merli is a member of the Coalition Steering Committee, and Marianne Wilson is the creator and host of the PBS program Sit and Be Fit. Everyone, good morning. Nice to see you all.
Good to see you.
Doctor, let me start with you. I mentioned a blood clot, and clearly that's where we begin. But give me a more technical answer. What exactly is DVT?
DVT is a blood clot, Matt, that develops in the legs and forms and blocks the blood vessel, preventing flow from getting back up to the heart. And sometimes this could break off and become a pulmonary embolism, or a blood clot that goes into the lungs.
What surprised me is I was looking at a statistic here that 1 in 20 people right now will have either a full blood clot or a partial blood clot at some point in their lives. Do we know what causes these?
No, I think some of the risk factors that we're concerned about and we essentially promote are patients who are age over 40, prolonged immobility, and overweight are just three, and our website contains a longer list. But those are three that are very important. This prolonged immobility is a very important factor, Matt.
And Melanie, I want to make sure we all understand this. We're talking about a blood clot here, but David died of a pulmonary embolism, and connect the dots for me.
Absolutely. It's essentially the same clot. When the clot forms in the leg, it's called a DVT, or deep vein thrombosis. When that same clot or a piece of the clot breaks loose and hits the lungs, it becomes a pulmonary embolism. But it's the same clot. It travels and hits the lungs and becomes, then they call it a PE.
Keep in mind, we want to remember what David was doing at the time this happened. He'd spent hour after hour riding around in military vehicles during, as I mentioned, the early days of the war in Iraq. What, if any, symptoms did he experience, and what are common symptoms that other people experience?
Right, great question, because David was only 39, picture of health. But he had been sleeping every night in this cramped tank with his knees pulled up to his chin. So he had the restricted mobility or circulation of the lower legs. They were dehydrated. You know, the water supply lines were dwindling, and your blood becomes more sluggish when you don't stay fully hydrated. So those were two contributing risk factors.
Was there pain?
For David.
Did he feel pain?
He mentioned some pain. 2 nights before his death, he mentioned he was sleeping outside on top of the tank. I said, well, get back into the tank where you'll be safe. He said, I got to stretch my legs out. I've had these leg cramps.
And Marianne, we want to talk about stretching out movement,
right.
And I'm gonna use the word exercises, and I think that's a little bit, we should be careful about that. These are simple movements. We're not talking about people breaking a sweat here. We're talking about doing things simply to keep moving. What would you suggest?
Right. We have some wonderful suggestions on our website. However, I'm going to show you about 3 of them here. I have a group that's going to help me.
That's fine. Okay. Pretend we're in the front row of an airliner or something like that.
Okay. First one is a foot pump, and we're going to do both feet together. Normally we'd have our feet on the floor, toes up.
Right.
Flatten the feet, and then heels up. Toes up and heels up.
And if you've been immobilized for a certain amount of time, how often should you be doing something like this?
Personally, I'd say every hour. As often as you can think of it, really.
Okay.
And then some others are a very nice slow circle with the toes, and then you can reverse it and do the other leg. And the other wonderful exercise is lifting the knee and then straightening your leg, because you want to get as much room behind that knee as possible.
And even as we do these, Melanie, the good news is, because I know your main goal is to raise awareness about this, I've been on planes, and I've seen people doing things like this, maybe not exactly in this order, but some form of this.
Which is great. We can't always get up and walk around as often as we like to on a long flight. You can do these right in your seat, not just when you're traveling, but sitting at your computer desk for long periods of time. People in assisted living facilities, hospitals, anytime your mobility is restricted, you can do these very simple movements. And it's especially important because, as you mentioned early on, 2 million Americans will develop a clot each year. 300,000 people will die each year from this. That's more than AIDS and breast cancer combined.
The statistics are alarming, and we appreciate the information. Melanie, it's good to see you again. Say hi to the girls for me. Doctor, thank you. Marianne, thank you as well.
Thanks.
For information on Sit and Be Fit workouts, including those for specialty conditions, or for a complimentary copy of the Sit and Be Fit newsletter, write Sit and Be Fit, P.O. Box 8033, Spokane, Washington 99203. or call toll-free 1-888-678-9438, or visit our website, sitandbefit.org.